Yes, this is another one of my barn videos. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about sharing the power and to help clear up some misconceptions. You know, I really try to make it to where all the stuff that I teach and share is just so simple for the everyday person to really, as some people say, kill the mystery or the romance of shamanism, show everybody how simple it all is. You know, and so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to wreck your day about the magic and all that. People have a tendency to put too much into things, you know. I guess they just love the story or the whatever, but so today is going to be a little bit about sharing the power. When I say that, what the power is just our own personal power. And then, you know, I know when I start to explain these things, people are like, you just make it sound so simple. It really is. I can't emphasize how simple all this stuff is. You know, in case you guys don't know what I'm doing, I'm making another sea bag. This one's for my apprentice, John. Making some huge leaps and bounds, which is worthy of another video just in itself. But the reason, and I was asked again about this, can I make, you know, do I have courses? Do I have workbooks, workshops, and stuff like that? And the simple answer is just no, because you really can't do real shamanism through a workbook and stuff like that. It just doesn't work because people are so, I keep saying it, beautifully complex and unique. And then you're going to have a workbook that it's like a one size fits all. And that's just not going to happen. Okay? So I do apprenticeships with people, and I can even do them online. A lot of conversations, just getting people to rethink, you know, their programming in life and stuff like that. And in doing that, they get closer to their truth, you know, and when they start living in their truth, it's not about learning anything. You just become permeable to the information that you're looking for. And it really is that simple. And people, oh, I can just do that myself. Go for it. I would love to see more people do that on their own. And I'll tell you why. Not just because I want to retire, but because when enough people get an information, it just goes through the rest of the species, the human species. And I keep going back into the 100th monkey theory, where they, well, just look it up online. You know, it's easy enough to understand, but once these monkeys got used to washing their sweet potatoes before they eat them to get the sand off them, all of a sudden other islands that had them on there got the same thought. And that's one of the beauties about just humanity and life on Earth like that. You know, that's the real shamanism, stuff like that, the science today, or when I say today, within the last couple hundred years, you know. And so when people get to this point where they're like really living in their truth, and they're like, yeah, you know, I really accept myself, I really like myself, and even if they don't really like themselves and they have at least a plan to change and who they want to be, the rest of it all just falls into place. All of a sudden they're doing all kinds of energy healing. You know, they know what's going to be happening without having to use any divination cards or rune stones or anything. You know, they come up with, you know, people will tell me some of the other issues that they're having, like they see something coming for someone that's not good, but they have this feeling not to say anything. And that's another video in itself too. And they start to learn, you know, there's a responsibility to access this information. And who sets the rules? Who knows? There's lots of supposition about that. But the reality of it is, once people start living in their truth, all that law of attraction stuff just falls away. It's really not that complicated. You just get what you want. I know nobody wants to believe it. Nobody wants to believe that it's really that easy, but all the people who've been studying with me find out, oh yeah, it's real. You know, Hawk's right about that. They didn't want to believe it either. And now they're like, yeah, I just got to get out of the way. So when we're sharing the information, you know, it comes with our actions. It comes in the things that we make, like I'm doing these bags. Here, one example of that, when I was in Romania, like a month or so ago, all the time just kind of runs together for me. Orshi, the shaman I work with over there, she's getting ready to leave the Cluj-Napoca area. She's been there for half of her life almost. And there's this thing in shamanism where you gotta like give away the information, the skill sets and powers that you've collected over the years. You have to kind of pass it out. It's like this unwritten law or something. And when you do that, now you're free. Now somebody else is like, you know, taking care of your area in a shamanic capacity. And it's like a promotion almost, right? You know. And then so had an appointment with one woman, and she was just like really clicking in. I mean, she almost signed on to an apprenticeship, you know, years ago when I was like really traveling through the area a lot. And then, you know, people, for a lot of reasons, they don't, you know, that's fine. They got to kind of clear their process. And now she came back, and we gave her a lot of extra time on the appointment. And like, hey, maybe make an agreement, you know, we'll just allow you to have access to all this information if you just want to agree, you know, to take her position, her being Orshi's position in this area. And we'll show you how to download all the information that's been put in through here over the years, over a 10-year history in that area. You know, and it's like keys to the library. You know, whatever you want's yours. It's just that easy. And we told her some examples of things to expect, and then she goes, and then we took her out to the area. It was called the Home, a place in the forest, the Hoiu Baciu forest of Romania, one of the most haunted places in the world. I thought it was just very comforting there. And so, and then she says, yeah, I'll do it, you know. And in that, I gave Orshi a bag similar to this one I'm building. And she took it with her every day to all of her life skill and just, you know, appointments, everything. And that's called, that part of that process is called programming an inanimate object with an animate life signature. And an example of it, you can go into a beautiful place, a beautiful house, and just like, oh, I want to get out of here right now, and find out horrible things have been happening there, okay? Something that people mistake for being haunted. And she did that. So that's part of that sharing that information thing. And so what we've seen over the years, for me over the last 40 plus years in doing this, there's these waves that come up, waves of opportunity that people can kind of tune into. And when they get the chance to tune into it and absorb that information, it automatically starts to put them more into their core truth. And if they pursue that, and then they really start to embody their core truth, then the information that they're looking for, again, is just right there at their fingertips. It's like how can you not know it, you know? And this goes back into, without sounding too religious, the divinity of the human experience. I mean, we really are these divine beings. I mean, everybody talks about, oh, the goddess energy, but they don't have any proof of it, you know? I do. I mean, this time last year, I was in Nuremberg, Germany, and one of the things I wanted to prove to some people who've been studying for a while, I'm like, you don't need the courses. You just need the radiance of your own personal energy and your own personal success stories, and you too, and people will be able to assimilate the information from you. And this is really important, because if you're teaching a program or a curriculum, they have to study the material. And that goes through all these language protocols and all this other stuff for them to be able to get that information. But if you're if you're not doing it that way, and if it's just a pure radiance and your pure energy form, you don't need the curriculum. They don't need to be taught. It just happens like that. It's just this process that comes in, and they just assimilate. And the thing is that people are so deprogrammed and so detached from this. It's like, oh, that just sounds weird. It's just like impossible. No, again, all this stuff is just so simple. The hardest thing that I experienced in my shamanic work when teaching people is getting them to delete the program. Another example that I use all the time is just like you got too many tabs open on your laptop, or you got too many apps open on your phone. It's just not running right. It's not running at 100%. Well, how can you expect it to be able to make any big changes? When you want to, update your phone, you have to choose what you want to put in there. Uninstall the last stuff, install the new one, and then get a reboot, restart something. Same thing with people. And once I can get people down into that core truth, I don't have to keep getting them to go to the defrag or deleting process. It just happens. It gets these automatic updates with people. And it takes, unfortunately, it takes a couple years if you don't have a really good geomantic structure. Like I was building these domes for a while, not the geodesic ones. And any type of a dome that has concrete and steel in it and has AC electrical current going through it, or any electrical current, to be honest with you, that's just a death trap. Don't do it. But you can get people in these, then they can really download and change very, very quickly. And again, that's part of the sharing that information, because the pyramids and these other structures were built, a lot of them were built for that purpose. You can put a curriculum into these inanimate objects from the energy signatures, and like Stonehenge, they were just figuring out, like, wow, these stones have these certain types of minerals that are really good at storing frequencies, and they were actually even wondering if these stones could actually store a consciousness in there. So if they knew anything cataclysmic was coming, they'd be able to store that. Well, that's another way of, sharing the power. I know that's a bit far-fetched for a lot of people too, I guess, but and you know why this stuff is really far-fetched for people? Because again, the social programming is like, no, there's just no way. It doesn't show up on our scientific instruments. A lot of things didn't, for a long time, the most intelligent people on the earth thought that the earth was flat in the center of the universe. I know there's a bunch of dumbasses now that still think it's flat, but I'm a pilot. I've looked out the windshield. I've seen the curve of the earth. And so as I go, like I'm going to Spain next week, working with Eli Valle, another shaman in Spain, and working with people to take some of those people we've been working with for a while to another level like that. Once you get a group to about 30 people, man, you just like popping it off, But it has to be like 30 people who are like physically fit, don't have a lot of bad habits and, things like that, and fairly centered in their truth. I was working with a group in Miami back in the 80s, man, and it was just awesome. The manifestation stuff we could do, energy healing stuff we could do. And then the people were just like, I can't believe I thought you were full of shit years ago when you told me it was so easy. Yeah, everybody does. But then what happened, there was starting to be a lot of instability in the group. And people were like, it just doesn't have the rhythm. It doesn't have, I'm like, look, think of like a dandelion flower. It comes up, and that was us, like 5 years ago, just springing up. And then, you get to this bright, big bloom. It's just so beautiful. That was us like 3 years ago. and then it starts to fade a little bit and not so pretty as it was. And that's 2 years ago we started having this instability. Now we're all seeds. You guys go out and you guys start your own groups. You guys do your own thing your way. And the people that are attracted to you and your vibe and the way you do it will come to you, you know? And of course they weren't, you know, feeling that confident about it. I'm like, well, tell me another logical thing to do other than that. And they couldn't. So that's what they ended up doing. And many of them became teachers. Many of them became just people that were just really good at life in general and just raised family and raised really great kids and helping people along the way. And it was just awesome to see. And in my mind, that's how we can create paradise on earth. You know, doing those kinds of things, sharing that knowledge. But to be able to share the power and to share the knowledge, you have to first experience it, you know, in its truest form. And the only way you're going to do that is for you to be into your truest form. So I just want you guys to think about that one. You know, if you like all this, share it. Make comments. I'll make videos on the comments that I get. And let's see if we can, you know, I mean, we're in a race, you know, between the people who want to control everything to everybody's lives and the people who want to be free and be the best that humanity can be. You know, if you'd like to be part of that second group, you know, like I said, leave comments, help me share the words and the thought out there. Let's get people to think outside the box, jump outside the box, jump off the table that the box is on and out of the house that the table's in, and go be the best we can be as human beings. Till then, I will catch you guys later.